Hello and welcome back to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm your host, Logan Stump, and with me today is Jordan Weekend.
Hello. Baseball's back.
It is back, Jordan. It's back in a big way. We're not going to be missing any games. Jordan and I were very doom and gloom on our last episode. I felt you were much more optimistic than I. I think there was a lot of pessimism with my end of it just because I felt
I think I was very optimistic until last episode. I feel like I really thought something was going to get done, and then when we were live on the air and they canceled more games at first, I was like, all right, this is it, because they're not going to do 162. Once they worked out doing 162, it became less of an issue because, like I said last time, they would have had to work out, okay, how much service time are you getting? How much pay are you going to get? Which would just get real ugly. So I'm just glad that baseball did the smart thing and added days to the end of the season.
Yeah, we've talked about. We've done 2 shows now where we've been waiting on a CBA to be announced, so that way we could get a season underway. And I always felt like baseball was the problem child, and we talked about that last episode, where it seems like baseball, if they're ever going to have issues, it's always going to be baseball. But it's good. It's good to be back. It's good to have baseball coming back. It feels now, Jordan. Games are starting to come out today with spring training, and then we got teams playing in spring training today. It almost feels unreal because you're so used to signings being made in the winter, and you're hearing all these signings and guys aren't in camp, or guys were in their camp and then they're driving over to 10 miles down the road and they're at their next team. It's a wild concept. There are guys that could be on the Reds that all of a sudden catch a bus and 10 minutes later they're on the Orioles or Royals. So
yeah, I was gonna say Orioles are in Florida.
That'd be a longer drive.
That's a long bus drive.
So we got an action-packed show.
Some of the spring training games today, it was fun. While also watching some of this NCAA, but just having some of that, just the fact that baseball was on, there was actual games on. It wasn't like college games that I've been watching to get my fix.
Yeah, it's definitely been weird. Just because I was excited for the winter meetings this year too, because they were going to be here in Orlando, and I was going to see if I could go sneak in again.
And it was supposed to be the kickoff of our show.
Yeah, it felt so unreal last time, though. Jordan and I can kind of reminisce here for a minute. Do you remember that we went in? You and I think it might have been
and Rich. Rich went with us. Yes.
So we went in and we go into the Swan and Dolphin, and that's here at Disney World because we did the Disney College program. That those that don't know the story, that's where Jordan and I met. And in 2013, we went in to the main lobby of the hotel, and we had read the signs that the MLB winter meetings were taking place. So we walked in. We were amongst the beat writers. We were looking at guys on the set of the MLB show.
Baseball Tonight. Yeah, Baseball Tonight was there. There was Kurt Schilling and.
Buster was there. Everybody was there.
Yeah, Buster was there. I remember seeing Rakubaku, who covers the Orioles for Masson, back when Masson would actually send him places. Now that they're too cheap to do that. Because funny story, just real quick to get a little sidetrack. He used his own money to come down to spring training for the first 3 days because Masson wasn't sending him down, and then after enough uproar, Masson decided to send him down. So. What are we doing? Literally, it's a channel owned by the owners of the team, and all they do is play poker repeats and Division III basketball, which is over now. So I don't know. The owners are getting real cheap about stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of owners, we got a deal done, Jordan. Baseball is back, so we've already alluded to that 100 times. But Jordan, just kind of catch us up on the CBA. What was the deal? How did it get done? Were we panicked at all? After we left last week, were you getting more concerned as time went on, or did you feel a little bit more optimistic as time went on?
I felt a little better after the show, actually, because we started seeing reports from people that they were going to continue talking into the night and that they were going to actually continue talking the next day. Which I think the deal happened a day or two after we have recorded. Yeah. And I remember you were very down on it while I was at work, trying to keep ourselves updated on the happenings. A lot of the stuff that we talked about last time came to fruition. The minimum jumped up from 570K to 700K, and is going to increase throughout the life of the CBA, I think all the way up to 780K. And one thing we need to know too, the vote count, all of the executive committee for the players union are actually in there, like doing the negotiating, like the Scherzer, players like that, all voted no to this. And it actually was a majority of the rank and file MLB players that voted yes. And I think only 2 teams voted no. So, because what it is like the team votes and then the team player rep has to submit the vote. Um, so, you know, most of the players are like, hey, this is our last chance to get 162 in. It's a huge increase for me. Let's get playing, right? I mean, and I'm happy they voted that way. The arbitration bonus pool that we kind of talked about that was newly created. That bonus money is going to pre-arbitration players that finish in a certain section. So like if they are MVP or Cy Young winner, they're going to get an extra 2.5 million. If they're second place in the MVP or Cy Young, they're going to get 1.75 million. Third place MVP or Cy Young, 1.5 million. Fourth or fifth MVP or Cy Young, they get extra 500K. Rookie of the Year winner is going to get an extra 750K. Second place is going to get 500K. And then the rest of the pool will be divided among the top 100 performers in the service class based on a formula that is being determined based off of WAR, wins above replacement. Players may only receive 1 bonus award per season. So I'm assuming it's going to be whatever one is the higher. If they finish MVP and for some reason Rookie of the Year, they're going to probably get the higher amount, I would think. To address service time manipulation, which I'm not sure if it was actually addressed that much, the top 2 players in the Rookie of the Year voting will receive a full year of service time regardless of when they were called up. That's huge. It's saying, so this will stop manipulation of, I guess, or maybe it won't, but the idea is to stop manipulation of prospects, like an Adley Rutschman, who is, the number 1 baseball prospect right now, or Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals, is to try to limit that because they say, well, guess what? If you call him up in July and you're trying to get around the service time thing, but he's still Rookie of the Year, he still gets that full year anyway. So why would you even waste not calling him up? Teams that promote a player on the opening day roster and keep him up for a full season will be eligible to receive up to 3 draft picks, Logan, if the player finishes in the top 3 of Rookie of the Year or the top 5 of MVP or Cy Young. So the incentive there also is, okay, well, if they do finish in that, we're going to get some draft picks. So that's one way to look at it.
I like that though. I mean, that gives you incentives as to like how to keep these rookies up and get these rookies playing. Like you said, not keeping guys down. I mean, this was the whole situation. I know we had the situation with Chris Bryant. It might have been part of the reason why, he doesn't even look over his shoulder for a deal for the Cubs. He felt like he had been wronged by them, and there was a big thing that when that happened, it was a big issue that he had made it clear that that wasn't what he felt was the right thing to do. But skip forward 13 games or something like that, and he was playing. But I like that they're attaching draft picks to this, just because I think it gives people the incentive to pull people up, and then you're going to get a lot of your younger guys, top prospects up. So I like that.
And what, not just like Chris Bryant, but I mean, if you look at like a case of last year, Jared Kelenic, who was the number 1 prospect at the time, or number 2, I think, because Wander Franco, I think, was number 1. But number 2 at the time for the Mariners, they waited purposely the 2 weeks or whatever it was to call him up. But the owner or somebody in the executives was on a call with the Rotary Club of Seattle and was like really open about how they were manipulating the service time. So that was definitely something that they felt like they needed to address. Another good thing is a player may not be optioned to the minors no more than 5 times in one season. So this kind of comes from, I forget what the player's name was, but there was a player last year, if you looked at his transactions, who was going up and down and then also got traded back and forth to like the same 2 teams and just to get sent down again. Like, it was not like a good look either. So limiting it to 5, I think is good as well. Now, that pesky international draft that we were talking about, players and owners may agree. They have to either agree by July 25th to implement the international draft, which would begin in 2024, or if not, then they go ahead and bring in the qualifying offer system again. So for right now, there's no qualifying offer, attached to some of these free agents. Another big change is for the Rule 4 amateur draft. So that's like the draft where we're drafting college players or high schoolers. The first 6 selections of that draft are going to be awarded via the lottery system. So all teams that did not make the playoffs in the prior season are eligible, and the 3 teams with the worst records will have a 16.5% chance at the first selection, and the others a lesser chance based on winning percentage. 11 teams have less than 5% chance at the pick. If you're a revenue sharing club, you may not have a lottery pick in 3 straight years. So that means like small market teams. And they may not have a lottery pick. So if you're a payee club that is a lottery pick, you can't have it in 3 straight years. And revenue sharing payers may not have a lottery pick in consecutive years. So just another way to try to curb tanking. When we see what the Reds and Oakland have done, maybe it didn't work. We'll see. The trade deadline is no longer July 31st. It can be between the commissioner is going to set the date between July 28th and August 3rd. I don't know when they have to decide that. Couldn't find that information, but sometime in that time frame. And now that's something I'm not as big on, Logan, because it kind of reminds me of the soccer system, of the transfer deadline. Before was always the end of August, and then at times they've extended it to like the first few days of September. It's just so much easier to remember when the deadline is when it is the end of a month.
Yeah, it's always like it was always July 31st with baseball, and then you had like the waiver wires where you could pass guys through waivers, which didn't very seldom did you get somebody valuable off of those. But
now, do you think they did this to try to maximize exposure of the trade deadline, so that way maybe they'll never put it on like a Sunday or a Saturday? Maybe they're going to be like, okay, Friday night's our trade deadline, so that way everybody's home from work and we're watching the trades come in. I don't know, like, what do you think it has something to do with that?
Yeah, I could definitely see that because I think last deadline you were working from what I remember, and you and I were texting back and forth between guys that were getting traded because I think it fell on a weekday.
The 31st last year was a Saturday, but
Was
yeah, it so if that's when it was, I don't know because of the COVID seasons and stuff.
Yeah,
I know it was different in 2020.
yeah, because I know that there have been times where we've been traveling and there have been different days, and you've got guys like you said, they got people that are working that can't keep up with the trade uh, deadline, and I think it's so much more fun with like soccer and transfer because those are late at night for us in Europe. Like you watch the European transfer windows and those are late, so it's a lot of fun to watch. NBA trade deadline is really a big deal. NFL doesn't really do a whole lot of that, but like their free agency is much bigger than other sports. Baseball has it all. I think baseball free agency is huge, and I think baseball trade deadline is always massive. Just because I think there's in baseball, I think you've got a lot more teams that feel as if they're either competitive for a playoff spot or they're definitely trying to flip over a roster to try to turn some of their big pieces into good products, which is always fun because I think that really allows for MLB teams to make a ton of trades.
So let's say July 28th through August 3rd this year would be between Thursday, Wednesday. So I guess whenever they feel like they could probably maximize the best time for viewership, because I think that does help. Because if I guess it's good in that sense, right? Because if it's always July 31st, if it gets stuck on like a Sunday or a Monday where maybe people are doing other things, that might not be the best.
Yeah, and I do feel like I do feel that baseball has an advantage here because their trade deadline is around a time when there is nothing going on in sports. It's training camp for NFL. It is end of the season, beginning of training camp for NBA. It's got soccer, but MLS isn't as big yet, so it doesn't take up a whole lot of the time. And then NHL's out of season, so I mean, that's a huge baseball has a huge advantage in the summer because it's really the only sport that gets going seriously for the. I mean, it's the dog days of summer, but it's really the only sport that's on. That's why I like it because it's I have something to watch in July and August because all the other sports are paused. So it's I think it's a good thing to have. Maybe they do like a this is a big week. This is the trade deadline week. Like if they could call it something like that, that'd be kind of cool too. If they could do like a hey, this is what we're gonna coin as the trade deadline week, and you make big trades then. I get because it usually is like you start to make big moves about a week out from the deadline because you want to get it across the line when the time's come. So yeah, no, I think it's a good idea just to. But I mean, the commissioner deciding it, like if he starts just to decide it like on the day, and it's like okay, well, I mean, I never push it forward. I always feel like pushing it back is better.
Yeah, I assume he'll have to choose. I don't
Prior to the seasons.
prior to the season, but I don't
Yeah,
think they've said when the deadline is this year yet.
right.
But yeah, so that's all the big CBA stuff. But there are some things attached to that which is going to take effect this year, Logan.
Yeah, so this year opening day is April 7th, so we did get a bit of a delay, but we're still going to play 162 of the games. Some days added into the end of the year, and some are double headers, which are back to 9 inning games. They're not doing the 7 inning double headers, which I think is always a benefit, just because it really screws up your rotation. It screws up just time, I guess. It really does affect a lot of the teams.
That's too.
Stats as well, right? Rule changes. I think the one that we all figured was coming after the pandemic. I think the pandemic had one good thing to come out of it for baseball, and I think that was the universal DH. As much as the traditionalists want to argue about the DH, I'm a proponent for it. Back in high school, I wasn't, but the more that I've gotten into it, the more like I mean, these are guys' livelihoods, and I've seen a lot of pitchers blow out knees. And I've always been jealous of having that, oh, we need a DH bat at the end of at the end of the trade deadline. We need to make a big move for a big, bat that we can put out there. And the Cubs have always kind of garnered some of those DHs and sent them to the other teams. But
And I feel like it limited the moves you can make without it, right? Like when you see people like Boston trade Schwarber mid-season and like Nelson Cruz getting traded to the Rays mid-season, like that kind of stuff where they can't go. Well, Schwarber probably could still, but I mean, like because he did now,
right.
but that's because of DH, right?
But yeah, Nelson
Cruz, yeah, who's like 40 years old, is not going to be, yeah. Pujols, this helps Pujols get another job. Like he could have been out of baseball already at this point, and most people probably say he should. But yeah, I mean, it is, as an American League fan, it is more fun watching a player that can actually hit. Like whenever we were in a National League game and a National League park, and you get to a rally going, and then you get your pitcher up, especially an American League pitcher who never bats, you're like, oh, great, here we go. And it just deads. It's just dead.
It kills the game. I mean, this is ultimately what we want in baseball, right? We want more excitement. We want some of these things that are going to happen. I think it's going to help the game tremendously, and we'll get to some of those. But this is step one. And I think it was a long time coming. I think they had to do this just because it is. Like you said, there's nothing worse. And it happens all the time in the NL. And I don't know why they'd walk the 8 hitter with bases loaded in like the 7th or, the 6th. And the guy's throwing a gem. And there's nothing worse than having to yank him out of the game just because he's got to be able to hit. And none of them hit very well. So it is. It's a real bummer. It dampens any kind of excitement that you have for the game, and I think it's a huge step forward. Jordan, another rule change that could be coming, I guess. There's a lot of things in here that were like dependent upon the next couple of conversations we have about this.
Yeah.
But this one really, I know you and I agree on this one. Maybe no ghost runner in extra innings. It was originally said to not be happening, but now MLB and the union are back into talks to bring it back. Does it say? I don't think it's ever said how long that they would keep this going, or if this was just until the next CBA. But it doesn't sound like it's going away. Yeah, because everything I read about it, because I googled it while you were talking, it doesn't sound like it's going away. Like it sounds like that some of the players were proponents for it, just to end the games quicker.
They have to make this decision soon, right? We're 3 weeks away from the start of the season.
Right. What do you think? You like it?
No, I hate it.
Yeah, I do too.
The only thing I liked about it was the fact that it would make small ball sometimes like more reasonable. Like people would actually try bunting, they would try to do sack flies, but none of that stuff is exciting. Like, you know, the way that John Boy says it on his podcast is like nobody's flipping over to a tie game like, oh, they got a runner on second, got to flip over. You know, like it's not like something that no, it doesn't really make a casual be like, oh, a runner's on second, let's flip over. It just ends the game faster, and it can ruin stats. I mean, again, this is gonna, you know, you can throw a perfect game and still lose the game because they can move them over with a bunt, they can sack fly, and you could be in inning number 10 of a perfect game and you could lose the game. Like that's not fun, and that's not fair to the pitcher. It's not fair to anybody. So while it ends it earlier, the one thing I'd say is just, I don't know, if you really want to end it that bad, players just go up there and bunt 3 times. Right. I don't know. I mean, like, just get out then. Or score runs. I don't know.
Make it more like make it an exciting thing. Like have a home run derby or something. Like if you're gonna bring the stupid like rule of like bringing it out on second base, like make it more fun. Yeah, like make it like a penalty shootout, like a home run derby. You get 5 each. You get to swing. You get 5. You select 5 guys that you think can hit it over the fence, and then see what happens. I don't know. Like make it more fun than that. Like they used to do this rule in high school, Jordan. Like we used to have this exact same rule. You played 1 extra inning, and then after that, it went to an extra, or a runner went to second base. And we hated it as players because we're like, that's not fair. Like, that's not fun because it also depends on where you end up in the lineup. Like, one team could have the advantage because they've ended up in the lineup where, you know, and I know that could be the case for most instances because you'd be like, okay, well, the top of the order is more likely going to get on base than the bottom of the order, and that's just how baseball works. But it really does. It just sours the game because you know the inevitability, it's over. It's kind of like the first scoring touchdown. Like I hate that rule in the NFL. It's like a suicide mission. Like it really sucks.
At least both teams get a shot here. But,
right.
The way I would do it maybe is let's go 11 innings without it. Let's go 12th inning, runner on first, 13th runner on second. If you really want to speed it up.
That I agree with. Like play 4 innings without it, or like 3 like half a game. Play 4 innings without it, and then by the 13th they don't.
Or let's go to a point system and start having draws.
That would be the other way. And honestly, there wouldn't be very many games I think that would end like that if there were draws.
Yeah, no,
I think probably games would be different.
Just have a draw after 14 innings.
Yeah.
If you can't, or 13 innings, 13, 14 innings, whatever. If you can't get, if you can't break the tie from the 9th to the 14th inning, okay, it's a draw. Let's move on if you don't want to keep playing.
Right.
And that would sort out, they're no longer having a game 163 anyway, which is what we're going to get to, right? Mm-hmm. So that could do the same thing.
All right, so 9 inning doubleheaders, not 7. We mentioned that before. That we're excited about. No more game 163, like you alluded to earlier. The tiebreaker game will be no longer. A formula will be used, just like the NFL uses to be able to calculate how that breakdown would be. Now, did it say exactly how that was going to work? Is it like conference, divisional, or is it just something?
I don't think they've said yet. But it's going to be something similar to how the NFL does it.
I feel like divisional is the best way to go. Like I've always liked that route the most. That or run differential. Like I think run differential would be fun too, just because I think that
like a run differential type.
Yeah, and run differential in baseball. I mean, much like it is in soccer, run differential is massive in baseball. Like that's a big stat that a lot of people look at.
Yeah, I mean, we look at
how good teams are.
When you look at the Mariners, who won like 90 games last year, they actually had a run differential of a team that had 76 wins or something. So they were playing above their weight, So, the run differential can kind of show like if you're actually playing well or if you're lucking into some of these or getting, one run wins or something.
Right. Expanded playoffs are coming, Jordan. We've talked about this some in other podcasts of other sports that we've done. 3 wildcard teams, 2 division winners with the best records in each league, so 4 teams receive a bye. 3rd division winner and top wildcard host a 3-game first-round series versus the other 2 wildcards. Do you like this? You like this expanded version of it?
like it better than 14.
Yeah.
And you know what I also like? I like that the team is not picking who they're
Yeah.
playing. I seed
Yep.
it, please. Just seed it. I
Yeah.
hate the idea of them being like, I pick you. And then again, the fans are going to be left with the thought of, what if we had picked the other team? We
Yeah.
could have won that. Like,
Right.
it's that kind of stuff where I don't want to be thinking about what choices you made. Instead, I can sit there and think, oh, if we just won a few more games, we would have been seated higher and maybe had an easier draw. Like that should be the most that I'm hoping for. Not like, oh, like the manager should have picked this or the owner. Like who even picks, the GM or the
Right.
coach? Like I don't know. It's too much. So I do like this. Apparently it's going to be. I forget. I haven't read how it's going to be, but I think, yeah, the top teams are hosting all 3 games, so it's going to limit travel. So we're still going to get it done in pretty much the same amount of time without the bye teams having too long of a layoff. So I think this is the best way they could do it. I think it should stay at 12 for the foreseeable future. I know they're going to try to push it to 14, but I think if we move it to 14, then we have to expand to Nashville and Las Vegas, which is where they're looking. Yeah. And I think then you can have, okay, if we're going to expand more teams, then we have to expand how many teams we have, because I don't want to keep going into this having more than, 50% of the teams in the playoffs or anything.
And I'm for expanding. Like I'm ready for 2 more teams. Like I feel like it would be good. But like you said, it's got to go to 14 teams. Then it just becomes the same scenario that you had before, with the 10 teams that you had. So I don't know. I like it. I enjoy it. I think that, like you said, the series being the 3-game series at the host is going to cut down on travel time, because like baseball, like in baseball you play 2 games and you have to travel, skip a day, and play another. So and that can be a disaster for pitching staffs and all sorts of other things. So I'm a fan for that. 2023 and beyond, more balanced schedules starting in 2023, less division games, and at least 1 series against the 29 teams. Love this.
Me too.
Hate the division crap. Like it gets so tedious playing the Reds like
19 times.
Yeah, it's like, this is like, if you get to the playoffs, you're playing a team maybe 30 times, like or close to it. That's brutal. Like that's so brutal to watch. And I love.
You know what's good about this?
Yeah.
Less Red Sox Yankee game.
Yeah.
Like, Sunday night baseball's already kicking off with the Yankee Red Sox series as it is. But, those games stretch on for like 5 hours, even with 9 innings. I can see why those players want to probably wrap it up with the way that those teams play. But, I really like this. I'm a big fan of it because I am in the AL East as an Oriole fan. And if I don't have to face them 18 or 19 times, and I think it's going to be like 14 or something, maybe. And then like 14 times each, and then having a more balanced schedule, there's more of a chance for a low team. Before the Orioles, even before 2012 when they were good, Oriole fans would be like, man, if we were in the Central, we would be able to actually make the playoffs, right? We'd have a shot. And a lot of people still say that nowadays, like we'd actually have more of a chance if we could actually be in a division that's not like, if you look at the AL East this year with the 4 teams, it's going to be a bloodbath. Well, with a more balanced schedule, if we're not beating each other up, then maybe we can all beat up on the other teams, and conceivable that you can have a shot, but who knows?
Yep, and it gives us a chance to have more of the extra inning baseball show derby, so it'll be a little bit of a rivalry.
I know, because I really want to go to see the Orioles at the Wrigley, but every time they do, it's a Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, and like you said, because it's always the Cubs always play the Brewers and the Cardinals on weekends because it's their main rivalries. It'd be great to have like the Yankees Cubs, or like the Orioles Cubs, or the Orioles, Angels,
White Sox Cubs,
or White Sox Cubs, right? You could have DC and the Orioles playing each other constantly. So like that, I mean, there's so many things that could open up, and then you could have weekends where you're seeing their crosstown rivals or whatever it might be playing each other. Gives us more Mets and Yankees, which is always more fun, I think, than honestly the Red Sox and the Yankees, just because of the teams having like the polar opposite effect on each other.
Especially with the Mets now. Like the Mets are the Yankees now. Like
they're the big brother.
They've built up a team doing the way that the Yankees usually do.
More rule changes to come in 2023. Ban on the shift is likely. Bigger bases is likely. and the pitch clock is happening. So, um, proponent of all those. Jordan, you like those? I mean, those are three.
Yeah, and I
The
think
base thing was interesting to me because I guess I never really thought much about it, but it
it's just
just
an
makes
extra 2
sense.
inches or something.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I think they're testing all these out in the minor leagues this year too.
Hmm.
But bigger bases, I think they think will lead to more steals. I don't know. They
Yeah.
also think maybe less injuries
Hmm.
too. The way that they have it sloped and everything is supposed to be better for water and everything now, like these bases. So I don't know. For me, I ban on the shift we talked about last week or whatever. I'm all for it. And then pitch clock. I just watched a video somebody shared on Twitter of a Japanese pitcher throwing 3 balls in 14 seconds, which is amazing and should be the norm. Let's
Yeah.
get this thing moving. It's like
Yeah.
as soon as he got the ball back, he's like, all right, I'm winding back up.
Yep. I like it. I love the pitch clock. That's going to change the game. It'll make a lot of games shorter. So.
Yep, that's what we need. It might shave off I think they said mostly like probably 10 minutes, but that'll be better,
Yep.
because it's not a problem if the game's long. The problem is when the pitcher is staring, shaking off the catcher 5 times before getting on and doing, like that's what drags. And you're like, oh, I can look at my phone during this. Like
Right.
I should be engaged with the action on the field.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the exciting stuff, Jordan, because we've been kind of just stuck in mud here for the last couple of months, just waiting for baseball to be back, and baseball is back, and with it, big trades, free agent frenzy. We're going to get into everything that was big, everything that is going to impact hopefully your team. We won't get to it all just because there's just so many moving pieces now. But when we get to the previews, we'll get into a little bit more of the moves per division, which will start, I guess, this coming week. So
yeah, probably.
yeah.
I think what we should do. If we want to do just 3 weeks of previews, since we have 3 weeks, we do an AL NL East, AL NL Central, AL NL West.
Let's do that. That'll be easy. Yep.
Break it down. So let's get into trades. I'm really excited, and I feel like I know before we used to get all these in December. I think it might be better if they can somehow schedule these transaction periods to be during spring training, because it's a lot more fun. It is a lot more fun.
Like a transfer window, like a trade window or a free agent window.
Yeah. The trade that kicked it all off really was the New York Yankees acquiring Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Ben Rortved from the Twins in exchange for Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez. Funny, I don't think this does much for either team here. I don't think it helps the Yankees that much. The Yankees get rid of a catcher, and they bring back Vortved, who I don't know how high people are on him, but, bringing in Donaldson for third and Kiner-Falefa for short. I don't know how much better that makes them than what they were. I think they probably actually need some pitching, but I think they probably could have got better than somebody else that we're talking about first base later. Any thought on this one before I move on to the next trade?
I thought it was an interesting trade. It wasn't. Again, they're not yet. I'm so used to you and I are so used to the Yankee moves from a decade ago. These aren't the same moves anymore.
No.
I mean, this is not the high potent machine that was the Yankees. This is a watered down version, and the Josh Donaldson thing is confusing. He can be kind of a nut in the locker room at times, from what I've
he
gathered.
Doesn't like Garrett Cole. They had to bury that hatchet.
Yeah, and it's just he's very polarizing, and always has been. I think he's a consistently 240 hitter, and I mean in this day and age, it seems to be decent. But again, it's not really an uptick from anything that they've had before. So, like you said, I don't think this isn't one of those ones that goes, well, this makes them a whole lot better.
But what's fun about it is that it was big leaguers for big leaguers.
Yeah,
like that was fun.
It was unreal.
Like, oh, geez, yeah, it was a great.
Like, wait, there's no prospects really combined with all of these bad draft picks, and we're sending compensation this way and that way, and you get the lunchroom staff for this team or whatever you get. So, but no, I'm in agreement. Not much changes here, I don't think.
The rest of these are not really in order, but Braves traded for Matt Olson from Oakland. Oakland received Christian Pache, Shea Langoliers, Ryan Cusick, and Joey Estes. And that is Atlanta's top 1, 2, 6, and 14 prospects. And then immediately after that, the next day, the Braves extended Olson for 8 years, $168 million instead of signing Freddie Freeman. I know a lot of people in Atlanta were hurt by Freddie moving on. I think he wanted to go back home. It sounds like he wanted that extra year, that 6th year that Atlanta wasn't offering. So I think what Atlanta did was smart. They go out, they lock down first base. Freeman wanting 6 years when he's already 32, is pushing him to like 38. That's going to be pretty rough in that 6th year, I think. And Olson's like 2 years younger, 4 years younger. He's like 28. So he's going to actually have like he'd hit free agency at like 36. They locked him down for the 8 more years. Yeah, so I don't know. That just sounds like good business to me. It might be a little costly, and I thought maybe it was costly specs until they signed the extension. Signing the extension made it a lot better. He had 2 years left. So I don't know. What's your thought here on the Braves moving on from Freeman and nabbing Matt Olson here?
I love the move in the way that in the sense that it goes backward. It's almost like getting Freddie Freeman backwards. Like it's like, okay, we're just gonna go grab somebody that's younger, slightly younger, 4 years younger than Freddie, and bring him through. He finished 8th. Matt Olson finished 8th in the MVP voting last season in the AL.
And his slash lines are lower than Freddie.
They are.
You're playing the long game of Freddie's not going to keep up at this, right?
Right. And there was part of the seasons last year where Freddie wasn't as good as he had been. I do remember there were stretches where Freddie, was oftentimes quieter. And I think in the playoffs he was a little bit quieter to start, if I can remember correctly. He wasn't, he didn't come out of the gates super hot in the playoffs and then finished pretty well. But again, I do think with this move, you don't have to go spend a boatload on Freddie. There were a lot of people that had the sentiment of like you gave up a good prospects to get Matt Olson, but I think it's in the long run a good move just because I think the Braves are so good at churning out good young talent, and the Braves have always brought in players pretty well that I think fit their mold. And I've always been impressed with the way that they've just kind of, they've always remained consistent ever since we've watched them. They even had those days back in the day where they just ran the division. And I think they're trying to get back to that point. I think with moves like this, they will. And like you said, the slash line's not better than Freddie. And Freddie's been a lifer, but Freddie maybe has 2 or 3 more years, whereas Matt Olson has about 6 or 7.
Yeah, Freddie's 32. And I looked it up. He is 32. And Matt Olson is turning 28 this month. So he's still 27 right now. So yeah, that was a lot of that was fun too. Because I was playing my MLB The Show career at the same time, and I was on the A's, so I already knew. Like, I'm like in the middle of that when this is happening, and I'm like, but I just passed it to Matt Olson. I just threw it to him. What do you mean he's gone? And it's funny too because he was at the John Boy Media house in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Being interviewed with them, hanging out with them, and then the next day he's traded and having to fly over to Florida from Arizona to be part of their preseason there. But he is from Atlanta as well, so that is he grew up probably watching those 90s teams, so he's made for it. I think he already lives near there. I think he has a house there. I think it's a perfect, no reason. I mean, that's probably the reason why he was able to sign a long-term deal the next day, right?
Yeah,
he wanted to be there.
Oakland got a steal though. I mean, Oakland did get they did really well to bring their 1, 2, 6, and 14 over like that. That's massive. Like that to be able to rob that because the 1, 2, 6 are more than likely going to be major league players. 14 maybe not, depending on how the development goes. But I mean, you've got guys in that system now that I think are very impressive players, and I think that when you bring them along. And Oakland's known for that. They need, like you said, Moneyball. They need younger prospects to come up and perform well. And I think that's just ultimately what Oakland does because they've just pretty much flipped over their whole roster that were those younger players.
All right. So the Mariners acquired Reds outfielder Jesse Winker and infielder Eugenio Suarez in exchange for Justin Dunn, Brandon Williamson, and Jake Fraley. I like this for the Mariners. The
Mhm.
Mariners, like we just said, had won 90 games. Their run differential was like 76 or whatever. They like 76 wins. They need to upgrade and just even probably get back to 90 wins. But that division, other than the Astros, is pretty much wide open. The Angels probably not going anywhere fast, even with Shohei and Trout. The Mariners were so close with the extra wild card spot. There's a real chance. I think with the wild card spot last year, they would have been in, so or close to it. And they were in the fight until September, so I really like it. Reds, I don't know what they're doing. I think that they're just in sell-off mode for whatever reason. I mean, Castellanos hits free
Money.
agency. They're going to also trade Amir Garrett that we talk about in a bit. They just traded Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. That was mostly to get Suarez off the books, it sounds like, from his contract. But, geez. And Sonny Gray. They traded Sonny Gray to the Twins as well. So they're in a rebuild, I guess. But they were on the cusp of making the playoffs last year. You know, they were in the hunt for it for a good bit. And I think if they had the wild card spot last year, they would have been in for the Reds. So tough to then say, oh, okay, we're blowing it up then. Wouldn't be surprised if Valdo asked for a trade or something. The Blue Jays have acquired Matt Chapman from the A's. So another one of my digital teammates in exchange for Kevin Smith, Gunnar Hoagland, Zach Logue, and Kirby Sneed. So the Blue Jays are in full win now mode. As an AL East fan, this is very tough, very tough. But this team is more likable than I would say, Donaldson, Batista days of the Blue Jays. But man, that's got to be if you're a Blue Jay fan, it's World Series or bust. And I know we just said on Stateside Soccer Show that a lot of times we shouldn't be saying that for some of these teams, but this is their best chance. Like these next few years is their window. With Vlad Guerrero still under team control, bringing in Matt Chapman. They brought in some pitchers. They've been trying to get Jose Ramirez from the Guardians. Like they are fully in right now. Scary. Like I said, those four teams. You know what? This makes me think. Really, Blue Jays and Rays are probably the class of the AL East. I wouldn't be surprised if Yankees finish fourth. They just haven't done enough for me. The Twins traded for Sonny Gray from the Reds in exchange for Chase Petty. And here's another big one for the National League, and this is from Oakland as well. Chris Bassett goes to the Mets for JT Ginn and Adam Oller are headed to Oakland from the Mets. And Chris Bassett is now going to slot in third after Jake DeGrom and Max Scherzer in that rotation as they've the Mets again. So this is another one where there should be World Series or bust. They got Buck Showalter, who knows what he's doing. I love the man. They've got the players to compete now. The pressure is probably off of Francisco Lindor after the trade because they've brought in so many big high-profile signings. I don't know. I think I like their look at. I think their only real competition is the Braves. The Phillies, I don't think have done enough. And then the Royals have acquired Amir Garrett from the Reds in exchange for Mike Minor. That's just a weird trade. Not really sure what to make of that. The Royals seemingly are trying to make a push in the Central, but so are the Tigers. Tigers have made some big signings before the lockout. And then who else is in the Central? White Sox, who still have that great bullpen, and their infield and stuff. I don't know. It's going to be the Central's going to be a little deadlier now. The Twins have made some moves too, but again, we don't really like a lot of their moves to make a big difference. So I don't know. I don't know where to go. I think Royals still probably finish low.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Both Central divisions are kind of like, who wants the division? Like, which of you want it? And man, that'll be an interesting. Since we're doing the West, Central, East, that'll be like, oh gosh, when we get to the Central divisions, it'll be like, at least the Cardinals kind of have something. But yeah, so I guess we'll move on to the free agency because Jordan, if the trades weren't crazy enough for you, the free agency has been absolutely bonkers. And it sucks as a Cubs fan just because I feel like it's in our faces right now, just because everybody on the move this winter was the former
Well,
Cubs.
I think I saw that
Um,
if you added up all the former Cubs who hit free agency, it would have been like you would have had to spend like 400, $500 million. I think no way
yeah,
they were doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. Jock Peterson, all I mean, we'll get to it though, but we'll go through these. The first one we already mentioned, Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers, 6 years, $162 million. A lot of money for Freddie, Jordan. But my God, if you look at that, I mean, you got Max Muncy, you got him, you got Bellinger, you got Mookie Betts. I mean, it's just Will Smith. Like you've got guys that are just constant uh, sluggers, and I don't know where you get outs in that lineup. Like I just don't even know where you look to get outs. And I saw like the combined salary was something crazy too. I'm not even going to guess because I can't remember what exactly it is, but it hits bonkers nuts. So the Dodgers are going to be impossible to get out this year, from what it
Well,
looks like.
this is what we're talking about, right? This is a Yankee of old move. He
Yeah,
would have been a Yankee or even a Red Sox, who I felt like Red Sox really could have used Freddie Freeman at first. But again, we don't know how much that like how that would affect anything, right? Because he wants to be probably home in Southern California. So I mean, how much? Even if they overpaid, maybe he still picks the Dodgers.
here you go. Here's the projected lineup as of right now. Mookie Betts lead off, Trey Turner second, Freddie Freeman third, Will Smith fourth, Max Muncy fifth, Justin Turner sixth, Cody Bellinger seventh, Chris Taylor eighth, and AJ Pollock ninth. I mean, AJ Pollock is no slouch really either. So it's like 1 through 9 is just hitters and straight up hitters. And now I will say with the Dodgers, it's always important to keep in mind they're injury prone. I mean, all those guys have spent time on the injured list. I think Freddie might be the healthiest of them all, just because I know a lot of them have spent time dealing with injury issues. I know Bellinger's had his fair go. Justin Turner really hasn't played a whole lot over the last couple of years. Max Muncy's had his injuries. Trey Turner, I think, has been relatively healthy. I think Mookie's had a couple of knocks here and there, but again, it'll be something a scary lineup at that. Um, Okay, so you know what's really bad? I don't even know how to say his name, his first name. I think
Seiya.
it's Seiya, is it? Okay. They were
Mm-hmm.
making jokes about it, all right, because they want to say the Cubs announcer wants to say "see you later" instead of Saya or Seiya. But Seiya Suzuki, the big Japanese fish, is now headed over to Chicago. 5 years, 85 million plus posting fee. Um, Jordan, I see it in your notes here. You got a question for me, or do you want me to just?
I don't want you to ask me the question. I want,
Okay, I
yeah,
was
I'll
going to
ask
ask
it.
you.
I'll ask it for you.
Yeah.
Are you happy with this? And are the Cubs trying to compete in this? Do they see a weak division and think that they can try to compete because they signed Marcus Stroman as well? They
Mhm.
were apparently in on Correa, but now they're kind of moving on to Jonathan Villar, former Oriole. What are your thoughts here on? Is the window in the next 5 years? Or are they just trying to make a big side? Like, what's the Cubs' game plan here?
I think it's 2 to 3 years. I mean, they're going to wait on Pete Crow Armstrong to come up. They've got a lot of those guys like Ed Howard. I mean, those are guys that they're relying heavily on. It almost feels like the Cubs a couple of years ago again. And that's a lot of fun for me, just because I know what's coming, and I know they've had a success. Or they've had a lot of success doing that. I do think this year they're going to have a hard time to compete against a team like the Cardinals. Now, that being said, if you look around the division, I mean, you're looking at the Brewers, right? And I don't know, if the Cubs were going to come behind somebody, I think it would be probably the Cardinals and the Brewers, just because I think with the pieces they have left, and how competitive they had been, I think those are the two teams that are still have some remnants left that could be competitive. Now, I do think the Cubs are set up in a much better spot than the Brewers. The Brewers tend to lean heavily on piecing together a good team year in and year out, and trying to combine it with some of their free agent acquisitions as well as like trades. So I don't know. I think the Cubs will be competitive. I don't know if they'll be. They don't have the starting pitching, I don't think, to compete with those two. Um, but they're definitely better than the Reds now. I think, and nobody's worse than the Pirates. So there's a lot of good things coming for the Cubs. I think a third place finish is pretty realistic, but I mean, we'll get into kind of the
Yeah, you see the
projection.
Reds and Pirates, and for me, I see with the extra wild card spot. Okay, well
Yeah,
maybe they think that they can leap here
yeah,
up to and win something. I don't
yeah,
know, or at least in the next 2 years. I
yeah.
mean, it's interesting.
They need starting pitching. The Cubs do. If they can get an arm or two, that changes everything. Because I do think they have a pretty good offense now, especially when you're talking about some of the guys that they've added, just nice
Do
pieces.
they have
But
any pitching prospects big, or is it all hitters and stuff?
so the Cubs have never really been known for their pitching prospects. Adbert Alzolay is their number one young guy coming up. Braylon Marquez too has always been really good, but they're two guys that are injury prone. And actually, Alzolay is now on the IR. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they can put together. They're never really known for their starting pitching, so they've always been reliant on the market to give them pitching. So no, I'm going to go with no. I'm going to say that if the Cubs do have a starting pitcher, it'll be shocking to kind of come through their system. But at this point, I don't see anybody right now that really stands out to me as anything like a top prospect to
Do
start
you see
pitching.
them trading any of their top prospects that are not pitchers if you guys are in the hunt by the trade deadline to get an arm?
Um,
Or do you
yeah,
think it's too early?
Yeah, I could definitely see it. You know what would be fun, and I know the Reds would have a hard time doing it, but if the Cubs were competitive, they do have a farm system. I think that would be enticing to the Reds with offensive players. So a lot of shortstops in the Cubs system. The Cubs tend to collect a lot of middle infielders, and I know the Reds are always looking for them. I think a Luis Castillo kind of thing would be the next big move that the Cubs need to get Stroman's big. If Stroman can stay healthy and pitch like he had in the past. They've got Kyle Hendricks, which is always solid. But I think they need a top of the line pitcher. I think they could get some, they could make a move, but it'll be dependent upon them wanting to part ways with some of those top prospects that they have, like a Brennan Davis or Ed Howard or somebody like that.
Okie doke. Next.
Jock Peterson, former Cub, to the Giants.
Yeah, I couldn't find a money amount on.
No, I have not seen one really. I've seen they've just been posting it. Jordan,
It's 1 year, right?
yeah. His brother Champ, does he play baseball? Like, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't know if they did like an honorary thing. I think he does play baseball. I don't want to, but I think Jock also has the one that has a brother with special needs, but I could be
That's who
completely
it
off the
is.
mark.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So they gave him a locker.
They gave him an honorary locker. Okay. So I didn't want to mess that up because I felt like that was the case. But then I think also his dad also played for, whether it was the Giants or like the minor league Giants at one
really?
point. I saw a tweet about it today. So that's cool. Who is leaving the Bay Area is Chris Bryant to the Rockies, 7 years, $182 million. Jordan, I want to get an outsider's perspective before I kind of let loose on this one. What are your thoughts? Like, you're seeing this happen and unfold, and Chris Bryant arguably was probably one of the big fishes out there in the 2021 free agent market until the last couple of years. Like, it was like once his contract ends after that World Series run they had, he was going to be like a Bryce Harper, like a 330. That's how much he was going to get. He now goes for 182 to the Rockies. What are your thoughts on Chris Bryant?
Yeah, and Buster Olney heard beforehand that he would be lucky to get $100 million. So the Rockies seemingly really overpaid for him. Look, I don't blame him for going there, honestly. I don't know what they sold him on. I don't know if it was just the cash Brinks truck coming up that sold him on it. If he thinks it's a nice area to raise kids or, whatever he's got going on. But I can't fault the Rockies for it either. I mean, as an Oriole fan, I'm sitting here hoping Carlos Correa decides to sign for us. It's it is something that is maybe a little like, wow, why? I saw a lot of baseball fans and a lot of reporters saying, why would he go there? Doesn't he care to win? Well, he's already won. Does it really matter? He's not like a ring chaser. He already won a World Series. I guess, yeah. How many do you want to win, right? But I don't know. Maybe he's just happy playing baseball. He's already got his ring. Now he is set for life and his grandkids' lives, and his great grandkids are probably set. Like, I don't know. But for the Rockies, I wonder. Okay, well, why didn't they just keep Arenado, right? But apparently, this is a new GM. I had to look that up. This is a new GM from the last time, and I'm guessing he couldn't keep Trevor Story, so maybe this is part of his plan. I don't know. Like, I guess we won't really know until we see how they supplement it. They won 70 some games last year, so they could conceivably make a push, but I don't know if he's enough to make a push. They'll have to supplement it somehow, or maybe they think they have prospects ready to come up, but I'm not gonna rip them the way some people are online and stuff. I think, look, they're losing. They lost two faces of the franchise, Arenado and Trevor Story. They have somebody that can sell tickets. They have somebody that can sell shirts, sell jerseys, and maybe they think they can put that together somehow.
Yeah, it's just this one for me was the Rockies. Less like I get Chris, like I understand that. Like he was, I mean, he really was Jordan. He was Bryce Harper. He was going to get paid that, but then 2017 happened, 2018 happened, 2019 wasn't much better. 2020 was a better year, and then 2021 was good. Like, but Chris had never. I mean, there was a lot of pressure in Chicago, and then there was a lot of pressure with the Giants because the Giants, when they do rise to the power that they can be, they tend to get a lot of added pressure on just because they're the Giants, and they tend to always want to win World Series here and there. I think with Chris, it makes sense. 7 years. I mean, the Rockies have basically locked themselves up in another Nolan Arenado situation, and I don't know if it's going to go any different than what it did. I mean, they might be paying people to take Chris off the books here soon. Like it'll be, he's 33 or 32, and he reaches a level of like he just can't do it anymore, and he is very much injury prone. I don't think he's ever played a full year consistently, and it's always like nagging issues. Like he had a problem with his shoulder, he's had problems with a throwing arm, like he's had issues with other things, and it just
And by the way, he's got a full no trade clause, like any
yes,
Scott Boras client. So that's going
yeah.
to be, if they do have to move on at some point, that's going to be a hindrance. Unless if what though, he might be like, the situations are bad. Get me out of here.
Yeah, he's like, I did not realize what this was like. The only thing, Jordan, is that like he's never really shown what he did in college, where he hit 40 plus home runs. He's always been like a 25 consistent, like, and maybe some 30s when he was good. But man, like this is a good place for him to go if he's gonna launch fly balls like he always does. It'll be 81 games of him just launching balls into the Rockies, and then the other half people are going to be going, "What the hell happened to him?"
We'll have to look at his splits. Definitely, we'll have to look at his splits.
It'll be interesting, and that's actually where he got hurt one year, big time. Like that's when he
Really?
really started to bounce. Yeah, he got drilled. I forget who hit him right in the shoulder, but he hasn't been the same really ever since. But like hit him in the head, shoulder, like back in this area. It was scary. But yeah, I don't know. But let's move on because that's enough Chris talk. Zach Greinke back to the Royals, a 1 year deal. That's exciting. I guess just because of nostalgia, not really necessarily because the player is any good anymore. But I think that's cool. Like we'll see. I guess this is one of those things the Royals think maybe they could spend him for a couple of prospects here in a couple of months. I don't know. Like I don't know what the Royals'
I
plans
think
are
the
with.
Cubs were looking at him too.
Yeah, they were looking at him.
Look, as an O fan, I would take him. I mean, we need somebody to eat innings.
Well, and the other thing too, and he will eat innings. The other thing too, though, with Zach is that, like I said, it's perfect for a team like yours or mine where we're building and we know we're not going to be super competitive, but competitive enough to where he could win some games and play pretty well. And you flip him for 2 or 3 good prospects, and now you've got a squad. So again, maybe it's a good deal for the Royals. They can flip him around, but this is bringing him back to the Royals, which he started with. So it'll be interesting to see if they just eventually hold on to him so he can retire. But yeah, so Greinke back to the Royals. Eddie Rosario back to Atlanta. That's a big deal. They were trying to get that done and over the line after losing out on Freddie and kind of some bats in the middle of that order. Kyle
And this
Schwarber.
might be that might be part of the reason why they're able to choose Olsen, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they save money enough to give to Rosario.
Had a good postseason too. So
Yes.
he was the postseason king from what I remember. But
Hmm.
Kyle Schwarber to Matt's, our roommate Matt and our buddy that used to do a podcast with us. Matt's getting Kyle Schwarber, which is pretty cool. I worry about Kyle only because removed last year, and he's really had a hard time staying consistent for a long period of time. So that'll be interesting to kind of see where he slots in. Do they play him in the outfield? Can he finally make that move to DH where many thought he'd end up anyway? So that'll be interesting to see. Schwarber had a massive year with the Red Sox when coming over the Red Sox, pushed them through the postseason, played really well in the postseason. So hopefully I'm rooting for Kyle to do well with the Phillies, but not too well to where it makes me feel jealous. Another former Cubby, Anthony Rizzo, back to the Yankees for 2 years, $32 million with an opt-out after the first year. Jordan, when you sent me this, I was like, this is definitely one of those ones where I'm not sure he likes it there. I think he just.
I don't think they like him there.
Him.
I think they lost out on Freddie and said, let's go get the guy we know.
Yeah.
And we'll fill this hole another time. Right?
It's just head scratching to me. I know the Cubs supposedly were in talks with him, but then there was reports out that they didn't even call him. So I don't know.
He definitely seems like a player. How old is he? He seems like a player that's in
32.
like the that's in the 1 year contract, like 1 to 2 year contract range.
He's Freddie's age.
Yeah, he's 32. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I feel bad for Anthony. I love Anthony to death. He's probably one of the better humans on the planet.
He's probably made tons of money though.
Yeah. But again, like he'd always been one to take the cuts. Like he took cuts when they were trying to sign different players. He was willing to kind of sit back and let them sign guys like Lester and them without giving him a massive contract because he knew he wanted to win. So he was never paid extremely well. He was just always the heartbeat for the Cubs. And he never had MVP quality years, and that wasn't really what his forte was. It was more defensive leadership and leadership in the clubhouse. But this deal is really this is so like not the Yankees. Like it's so weird to me. It's just like you said. It's okay. He was on the payroll last year. We have his social security numbers and stuff. Might as well just dump it into his.
It's the least amount of paperwork I can do.
Right. So no, this is head scratching. He's a 230 to 250 hitter now. He's always been injured lately, especially because he's gotten older with his back. This just and the 1 year thing really just so confusing. Andrew McCutchen to the Brew Crew would have been exciting about 10 years ago. Not so much anymore. McCutchen, nice
he knows
guy.
That Central though, doesn't he?
The Central, yeah. He used to tear the Central apart.
Yeah.
But to the Brewers, I don't know. It's a weird fit for me. Nelson Cruz to the Nats, 1 year, $15 million. It's so weird seeing DHs now going to these, NL teams. That's crazy. Your former Jordan Nelson Cruz,
almost 10 years ago too.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Still doing it at a pretty high level too. Like he's been one that's kind of kept up with the times. And then one last one, Jonathan Villar to the Cubs, 1 year, $6 million, mutual option for 2023. Depth piece, like it's a nice piece to add. I think he'll be in behind Simmons at shortstop, or he can play some third base in behind Patrick Wisdom. So I don't know. That's a good deal. Like I think Villar has always been impressive every time that I've watched him. I mean, he's what you want in a depth piece and gives you just about that. So he's good to have. I've always liked watching him.
If I can just say something about Schwarber real quick. I don't know if that's enough for the Phillies. They have to do something. Apparently they were actually able to get Matt Chapman, but that the A's wanted like their top prospect.
And the Phillies never part ways with their top prospects.
Trevor Plouffe broke that story, I think, on one of the podcasts. He said that he has Phillies connections. He used to play there as well. He said that, and he knows Matt Chapman too. So there's the link. But he said that they could have had him, but turned it down because of they want their top prospect and somebody else. Alec Boehm, who plays third.
Yeah.
So they turned that down. And now you're like, okay, well, all you've done is add Schwarber, who really hits like 230, right? He's really only going to be a DH. You're probably not putting him out in the outfield too much, right? I don't know. It'll be nice for when he like bats after or before Bryce Harper, but I think they need something else.
And that's a brutal field to defend. That Phillies park is nasty. It's awful. And he's had issues in left field there. I can remember them. So like you said, it's a weird. That's a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
that's a big chunk of cash for
Like I would
somebody.
take Rizzo over Schwarber if I'm.
Yeah, well, he's had the better track record, but it's interesting too because like
How old
with
Schwarber?
Schwarber's
29.
20, yeah, 29. He's my
He's
age.
younger than me, and I feel like he's older.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Because they were all roughly around my age, I knew. But
That's
Rizzo
pretty
was the
cool.
older one. Yeah. All right. Still available. Okay. And I'll ask you about these guys. Where do you think they're the best fit? Okay. So be ready for it. Jordan, Trevor Story, best fit.
Orioles.
Who's interested? If you say Orioles for all of these, I swear.
Twins and Red Sox are interested. I don't think he's going to Red Sox because he wants to play short. Bogarts is currently at short. I don't think they move him. So I would say no. I would say probably the best fit for Trevor Story is the Twins. But I mean, again, any of these other, like, I would actually have thought the Yankees probably could have used him instead of Isaiah Kiner Falefa, right? But the Yankees are very high on their shortstop prospects, so they think that Kiner Falefa is really just a stopgap from all the Yankees stuff I see. So I guess it's down to the Twins. I don't know. I mean, that seems rough. That it might explain why he hasn't signed anywhere yet. It doesn't seem like he has many options.
I did hear
there was a lot of shortstops on the market this year too.
There were, and there has been interest from like people were saying St. Louis because Nolan Arenado. I will say one thing with the Cardinals though: the Cardinals typically don't like to spend that much money. They will spend valuable resources, and they will spend cash on one big splash, and it usually comes within years. Not like the short, like the Cardinals are not known for the splashy. While it makes sense and while I do think it would put them into title contention because the Cardinals are just always that real, relying on or consistent. I just don't know if it really I don't really believe it because I don't think the Cardinals are going to splash on Goldie, Arenado, and Trevor Story when they've got like Paul DeYoung and Edman. Like I just don't see that happening. It's not a Cardinal move.
Yeah, the 90 wins last year. That could really help them though if they got somebody like Trevor Story, right? Brewers had 95 wins.
Yep.
Reds are going to go down from 83 wins, you would think. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, the division's kind of wide open. I think I would do it if I was the Cardinals. I mean, who's their current shortstop?
Paul DeYoung. Which is very
average. Good?
He's a really good defender, and he has
not
stretches
no pop,
offensively,
though.
but not really. Like he does, but it's not consistent. So, but this would be like the 3-time plus upgrade for the Cardinals. It would make them It would make them NL contenders because their pitching is always so good. So, all right, I'm going to skip this next one because I want to say that for last because I feel like it's a good way to end. How about Nicholas Castellanos, Jordan?
Orioles.
Orioles, okay. All right, so all these guys are going to the Orioles. The Orioles are going to be
stacked. I'm the owner. If I was the owner, yes. Marlins and Phillies are interested. That's apparently the reason why Derek Jeter stepped down. He was really interested in Castellanos, and they didn't want to spend money. So, that's just, you have one Miami team who wants to bring in too many designated players, and one that doesn't want to bring in any right here. Right. But I don't know. Phillies, I think this could really help the Phillies.
Yes,
I really do. I think that Castellanos would fit. He is so Phillies too. I really think he would fit in.
He really is.
And Matt would love that for the meme of the 4-0 home run Castellanos. But I think Marlins is his hometown. He loves Miami. He wants to be there. I think if they turn around their thoughts and actually get him, I think that helps them. But again, I don't think they're going anywhere. If he wants to be on a contender, the Phillies, I think, is probably his best spot. But I think they already might have too many outfielders. I don't know.
Yeah. Dark horse, Chicago Cubs. He was a former Cubby, and he did like Chicago. Favorite place he's ever played. He's always said it. So.
Too windy.
Keeping my fingers crossed. Not a good defender, but he could be DH. He could be a DH. All right. Kenley Jansen, who
Orioles.
Okay, right. So, man, you guys are gonna be really good this year.
Blue Jays and Dodgers are what was listed. I can't see them going anywhere than the
Yeah, I can't
Dodgers.
either. Whenever
So,
this happens, Jordan, it's usually just a leverage move. I feel
mhm.
like this is much more of like Kenley trying to get as much money as possible. It always seems this way. Like, and it's funny how the Dodgers are always listed on
Or
teams
maybe he
now.
retires. How old is he?
I don't know.
He's 34, so maybe not. But I mean, you never know when a pitcher's going to hang it up sometimes.
Yeah. Especially relievers. So, all right, Michael Conforto, former Met.
I'd
What do we
say
got?
his best fit is probably Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
Let's go.
and then Jorge Soler.
Rockies and Marlins are interested. I think that could help the Rockies because they said Chris Bryant's actually going to play left field
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Why? Just sign it on Twitter,
Why?
put him on third. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, shouldn't it be that big? I don't know. But yeah, I think if Rockies probably have to make another move, they're interested in Conforto too. So I don't know. Pick one of them.
It'd be great for them, like especially Jorge. Jorge likes to do exactly what Chris does: swing for the fences and hope it all goes well.
And
Um,
that's all the big free agents. Where the
yeah,
other
we're
one is
done.
getting signed right now. Actually,
Is he really?
no.
Oh, I was going to say, what, are we breaking news? Jordan's got the scoop on Carlos Correa. All right, so let's talk Carlos Correa, Jordan. And
Orioles.
actually, that one's actually a little bit more realistic, to be honest with you. But Jordan, what do we got the scoop on Carlos Correa?
Okay, so Raul Ramos. Okay, he is a reporter. He actually has a BB WAA vote. He is the Mets and Yankees. He kind of I think he covers it for like Spanish readers a lot. So he's verified on Twitter, and he actually has a vote for the BBWAA. So it's not like we're just making stuff up. Now he's the only one who has reported this. Okay, so this is where I'm skeptical on the whole thing and why I love just making jokes about it. But his original report said that the Orioles gave a 10-year and like $325 million offer for Carlos Correa. Mike Elias was part of the executive team of the Astros when he was there and was actually, I think, one of the ones that scouted and suggested and helped draft Carlos Correa. So there is history here. It's not just Orioles fans hoping upon hope, as much as that also is part of it. Utah Street Report is a blog for Baltimore baseball. They do have some sources inside that says this was real. This was real offer. How is nobody else scooping this up? I have no idea. I don't think Correa wants this out there. I don't think he does. As much as it would drive up his price, I think it would actually hurt him. I think they would say, all right, well then go take that deal because we're not offering you $300 million.
Right.
He's got a spotty injury history. He's only 27 still.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just as we were recording, Raul Ramos comes out and says that the Orioles are working on a new offer that would have an opt-out after 4 years. He also states that we're trying to extend Adley Rutschman, who is yet to debut. If that's true, I really like that. Try to lock him up as soon as he comes up so that way we can, like a Wander Franco situation. But I don't know. We heard the Astros are making a push for him. I think they the only ones involved, and it might get to the point where he has to take the Orioles offer because it's the best one. I don't know. I think the players union would be like, dude, you got to take the best deal. Don't make us look bad. But I don't know. I think he'll go back to Houston for, even if it's not 10 years, maybe a year or two, a Rizzo deal, right? A 2-year, 1-year opt out. That way he can re-enter the market next year when there's not as many shortstops on the market. That might help him as well. I don't know how true this is, man. I'm getting my hopes up every day that he doesn't sign, and now I'm getting my hopes up that it says we're putting out another offer. I like it if it's 4 years opt-out because he probably opts out, and then we're done. Or if it's really going well, we keep him. I don't know. It's exciting.
I will say with a Scott Boras deal too, you've got to look at the logistics of the fact that he does like to accept a lot of money. and
Hmm.
oftentimes with his, I think Bryce Harper is one of his buddies.
Yes.
The Phillies weren't good. Like it's not like the Phillies were world beaters. He took the most money he got, and
And the
Carlos
rumor for
Correa.
this as well, by the way, is that because Correa switched agencies in the offseason to Boris, that the other agency actually still gets a cut of this. So that
Yeah,
might be another reason Boris is trying to get a lot of money.
yeah. I'm rooting for your team, Jordan. Like I'm hoping that he lands there because otherwise I do feel like it's an Astros only deal and he's just waiting for the
Mhm.
right Astros deal. And I think that might be what's taking so long is that they're trying to negotiate a deal that brings him back to Houston.
Yeah,
Because
ownership got involved at Houston to try
yeah,
to bring him back. So I think that's done. I think he'll go to Houston. But
yeah.
this is fun.
Which is weird, but it's weird to
We're
me
never
though.
linked to anybody.
Yeah, but like here's my thing. Weren't we talking about the fact that they couldn't afford? Like, how the hell are they afford? Are they going like Barcelona on us? Are they like just just buying players until they're broken? Like, is that
I think they can afford it. I think that they
just knew he was going to be
probably
expensive?
thought that they could get him at a lower rate, and he probably said, "I have a lot of options out there because I'm really good." But then, who was it that the Tigers signed right away?
I mean, they got Javi.
Javi Baez, right?
Yeah,
Like right away. And you had now you really have for shortstops. You just have and the Rangers. Who did they sign? They signed
Seager.
like Seager
Yeah,
right away. Like
right,
this was like really quick before the lockout, and it got to the point where the two teams you really could see him going to, Detroit or Texas, that would spend the cash that needed shortstops, dried up, and now he's like, oh. He said before he doesn't mind going to a rebuild situation.
right.
So maybe he would pick here. I don't know. I think he's going to fit in with the Astros more likely. I think that's where he'll go. I don't know if it'll be 10 years, but I don't know. Hey, this is the first time we've been linked to somebody in a long, long time. So I'm just excited seeing all the Oriole fans make jokes about it online. And, there was this one guy that I follow on Twitter that said, I will gladly trade the Ravens losing the rest of their regular season games if Correa signs as an Oriole. And then
Mhm.
the Ravens lost the rest of their games. And he's like, oh, here we go. We're going to get them. And then the report comes out saying we're interested. And he's like, oh, we're going to get them. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. I don't think it happens. So I got to keep telling myself it's not going to happen so I don't get. You may have seen me like smiling over here earlier when you were talking about something. It was because I just read that report and I was getting too excited about it.
That's the way I get with baseball, though. Like it's always that same way with baseball. Like it's the only one that makes me always just like really smile and like get happy because I'm like, oh my god, my team's doing like the Stroman thing was just so out of the
Yeah,
blue for
yeah.
me, and I was like, this feels like last time when we were rebuilding. So it did. It made me laugh and smile because I was just so excited. Like I'll never forget the night John Lester signed. So
Hmm.
like
That was a
this is
late night, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. It was like 11 or something. It was crazy. Like I remember staying up for it because it was like in the works from like 8 to 11. And I just remember I don't even think I went to school the next day. I was so excited. So, but no, it was really cool. One last thing that we didn't cover, Jordan, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Fernando Tatis,
Yes, injured.
Junior, injured 3 months out after wrecking a motorcycle and breaking his wrist. 3 months. The Padres then try to go out and sign pretty much everybody on the market and do still have chances to sign like Trevor Story and other people.
They're
But
trying to trade Hosmer is
yeah,
one thing. They really want him off the books.
yeah,
So that's
which
kind of
was a
holding up
huge
some of those, I think.
contract. And I remember when people thought that was such a great deal because I think
No, yeah.
isn't Cash is it Kevin Cash? Is that the owner or the GM?
No, Kevin Cash is the manager of the Rays, right?
Who is the owner that went over? Why am I mistaken that name? Padres GM. AJ Preller.
Oh yeah, Preller. Yeah, I think he's going to be. Look, if they fall apart this year or don't do anything again this year, he's out. He's got to
Yeah,
be out. He's made so many big trades to bring people over to sign long deals. So far, the Tatis Jr. deal is not looking great. This will be his third big injury in the 4 seasons that he's been partially playing or so. Right, he came up like 2020 or 2019, and he's missed time like every year. Apparently, he's not going to try to ride motorcycles anymore.
That sounds like a
Is
good
this?
idea.
Yeah, I think the Padres probably had a little talk with him, especially when his answer was, "Which accident?"
Yeah,
that's
like
not.
you wrecked your motorcycle, and he said, "Well,
It's
which
not correct.
time?"
Yeah, you think it happened when you wrecked your motorcycle? Well, which time? What? Which one?
And that's really
He's
bad.
out
Like,
3 months. He got surgery the other day, but he's out 3 months. But now I don't know where they go. I mean, he hit 40 home runs for them, and they still failed last year. What do they need to do? And the Giants, I feel like, have gotten better. The Dodgers have certainly gotten better. They need one of those wild card spots, man. They might be that third wild card. They need it.
I don't know. They just always have been a mess for me. Like it just seems like they've always been the precipice of being good and then just falter. I mean, it just seems that way.
Well, I do have a trivia question for you. This shouldn't
Oh
take too
yeah,
long.
yeah.
Okay, so this trivia theme is one to baseball clubs. While Wrigley Field is now synonymous with the Chicago Cubs, the first baseball tenant was actually a Federal League team named the Chicago Blank. Do you know this off the top of your head at all?
No.
Clue number one. This team went through 3 different team names in all 3 seasons.
Oh God. I think at one point they were called like the Rainbows or the Rainbow Fish or something.
You're close with fish. You're very close with fish.
I think like they were
Clue
like
number
trout?
2. Clue number 2 was they're named after an animal, but not like the one on land. So this would be
Weren't they cowfish? Were they cowfish?
Nope. They and also clue number 3 here. That's not really a clue. They won the league championship in their final season, 1915. It is a big type of sea creature. It is the whales, the Chicago whales. You can find merchandise for them too. But their first, Wrigley Field's first tenant was the Federal League team, the Chicago Whales, from 1914 and 1915. And then the Cubs took it over in 1916. The other 2 names that they went by is the Chicago Keeleys, named after an owner, and or after a manager, and Chicago Federals, named after, I guess, like the Federal League. They originally lacked a whole nickname, so they were simply called the Chicago Federals or Chi Feds to distinguish them from the Cubs and White Sox.
I learn something every day.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you know what? If I did one for Baltimore, I was like, I'm gonna do one for Chicago for Logan.
You're so nice. What a nice guy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, Jordan? So what we can say definitively next week we'll have the AL and L.
Let's start east to west.
Okay, let's do that then. All right, AL and we'll get to cover your boys next week.
More finished at this time. Like I feel like they have bigger. Like I think they're done their moves more than some of those other teams.
Yeah.
The last thing I just want to say is our new production network name no longer 14301. I feel like people might get numbers confused if you're like, oh, what's their network name? 130104. We're now called Log Jam Media, and this is part of Log Jam Sports. So you might see that on the little logo on your like podcast cover now. But so just nothing changing with the show or anything, just something new to call it, I guess. But made the logo myself, very proud.
I like it. I told you I liked it, so I do like it. It's good, and I like the name, so it's very fitting. Because this is a log jam sometimes. So I guess with that being said, Jordan and I will be back next week to talk your favorite team, AL East, NL East fans. So we will be going through off-season moves. We will be going through roster alignments, I guess, and different things that they've done.
The
The
Carlos
40-man
Correa
roster.
deal. All that
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll be talking Carlos Correa going to the Astros or the Orioles, because I feel like those are the only two options at this point. So I feel like we'll be talking that. We'll be talking Trevor Story and the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll be talking about Nick Castellanos and the Cubs. No, but seriously, we'll be talking about NL East, AL East, players they've added, players they still have, what we feel like their likelihood of winning the division are, who we think are going to be the wooden spoon owners of the AL East and NL East, which is the last place team for each of those divisions. We'll kind of get an inside look into those teams. And then hopefully throughout the season, we'll have some people on. I know Jordan's got some people lined up for Orioles. I can start to reach out to other different people as well, so we can get different perspectives from different clubs. Shout out your favorite blogs, podcasts, whatever it might be, beat writers, so that way we can reach out to them and possibly have them on the podcast. Give us a follow over on Twitter. You can find us at Extra Innings Show, Facebook Extra Innings Baseball Show, and Instagram Extra Innings Baseball Show. We are the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I've been your host, Logan Stump. That was Jordan Wiegand. And Carlos Correa, if you're listening, please sign with the Orioles. It will make my co-host very happy, and I'm not sure he'll ever sleep again. I guess play ball, good night, bye-bye, whatever we're going to say. I don't know the outro.
The opposite of play ball. The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand, and we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.